insight around why many people don't plan, or a myth to bust, and I'll say something, well, you think of an answer. Like, I think a lot of people don't plan because they're so afraid of failure, and they don't give themselves permission to refine their plan. And also, I think another key point, this is not one, I should stick to one, is they set external goals like become a New York Times bestselling author or make $1 million. So my tip for that, I think the big myth is people are afraid of failing. And the only way to fail, really, failing to plan, is planning to fail. And I know I struggle with this sometimes myself. It's okay. I want to focus my planning on who do I want to be, and how do I want to contribute, and who do I want to connect to, and blocking off my time. So I block off time to work on your project, Xander, even when we're not talking, so that I feel like, oh, we're always making progress. So that would be my little tip about that. And I think that I'd love to hear what you think prevents people from planning.
I totally agree. Fear of failure. They get overwhelmed by the enormity. They just look at that whole process and don't break it down. But I think also people don't share it with a trusted advisor or confidant, and be vulnerable to your baby and say, do you see areas that I'm blind to, that I haven't seen? I think all too often we think, I got to have this perfect plan before I share it. But you don't. And if you share it with someone else, they may say, have you thought of this?
Oh, that is such a great point, Xander. I'm glad that you said that. I remember when I took my MBA, the leadership course, part of it was doing a 360. So
Yes.
you had to ask a bunch of people. I asked some people who worked for me, some people that I had worked for, some other important people in my life, like exes. And I was emotionally challenged. Basically, because my habit, to be transparent, was if I had a blind spot, I did my best to hide it,
Of course.
which is normal. But what you're inviting us to is be transparent with the people that you trust, what your plan is, and let them point out, hey, you're missing this whole quadrant here. But that can be so scary, but valuable.
It is absolutely terrifying. And again, you may have this plan, and here's what I'm going to do, when you share it with that person and they say in the most caring and loving way, I don't think that's going to work for these reasons, and you realize that particular plan wasn't going to work. So we'll go back to my example. Had I shared my plan of I'm going to go stand on street corner and do it, a confidant might have said, Xander, wow, that's brilliant. How many hours do you have to sell so that you don't oversell? That would have been a key thing that would have helped the whole process. Say, I can do this much. As speakers and conference hosts and stuff, I have to think about how many people will the room hold. I can't do a speech in California in the morning and then say, I'm going to make a speech in New York in the afternoon. That's not going to happen because of travel and time zones.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know some professional speakers brag about delivering 200 talks a year. Shoot me, that's way too much travel.
Yeah.
Even before the coronavirus restricted travel. So I think, let's go ahead.
No, but the whole point there is it is hard. This is your baby. You've crafted it. You obviously care a lot about it. I care so much about my Epic Begins with One Step Forward, but I have to be open to sharing it with people and inviting feedback and trying to take the feedback in the constructive, critical way that it may come in, and pay attention to how you're reacting. To quote William Shakespeare, if you have a very sharp reaction, methinks the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also look for feedback That's not just, you can't do that. Nobody can make a living as a writer, but instead feedback that's, how have you considered this quadrant, or how about this, or how about that? How about if it goes, what happens if it goes 10 times better than you expect? What happens if it goes 1/10 as well as you expect?
Right.
Maybe there are some really solid plans. If you had known in advance that you would have been oversubscribed, perhaps you could have got other instructors to work for you, but you didn't have that on your radar.
I did. And I will also completely own that there is sometimes with planning and executing, I will totally own my complete maleness in the sense of, this would be great to do it. Let's go. And I have found that the women in my life sometimes take a few extra moments to think about the steps. And I always use the example that teenage boys would be, and I certainly did this. Dude, it'd be so cool if we rode our bikes off the roof. It's only when someone's lying there with their leg broken going, oh, dude, someone could get hurt. Whereas the women would be like, yeah, someone's going to get hurt, so no.
Oh, that's so true. I'm going to ask you one more personal story and then we'll go on to the next step. But have you ever suffered through a 360 as I did, or have you ever received feedback that was difficult to take, and what did you learn, or what tips do you have?
Absolutely. I worked in corporate America. I had 360s and peer reviews and stuff. Criticism is hard. I thrive on praise. It's hard to hear negative things about me. Joked often that I have a wonderfully comfortable, at this point, cruise ship size yacht on the River Denial, like your blind spot. Oh no, that just doesn't exist. Being thrown into the rowboat on the river reality is always hard. However, I try really hard to go into that and say, these people are trying to help me. And although it's hard, take a moment, sit with it, understand it, ask questions if you don't understand what the feedback is. Because we hear something negative, we immediately want to fight that. Take a moment, listen to what it is, let it sink in. And if you have questions, if you're confused by why they're giving you that feedback, get curious about why they think I talk too much. Okay, interesting. Can you give me an example of when I talk too much? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If I give you a time when you didn't talk too much, Sandra, it'd be much easier. No, but
that's actually a perfect example, because it could be feedback that person felt, but it could also not, it could also be a neutral thing or a positive thing for somebody who wants to be a speaker. But maybe you were in a role that, needed you to be mute. I don't know. But
yeah, no,
there can be gifts in there. Also, people, I find for myself, like, people will say 10 things about me and I'll only hear the one thing that I could possibly construe negatively, and it'll be like a knife to the heart, and I'm like, oh, but I didn't even receive the 9 clearly positive things. So take in everything.
97% positive, 3% not so much. What do we focus on? 97 here, 97's better. I just took an exam. I know I did not get a 97, but I was quite happy with the score that I got. I didn't go, oh my God, I missed these points. I was really happy with this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about you. So, well, we covered a lot. This was a really great podcast. Thank you so much. Now, you have got more than a couple of points, but do you want to recap?
Sure.
What you've said, so that people can
absolutely
have that as a takeaway. And I want to see your vision board next week and challenge everybody listening to do a vision board.
Okay. I guess that will be part of the achieve. Start off by writing what it is that you want to achieve. Okay. Understand what your goal is. Create a timeline for your goal, right? So much easier if we understand when something is supposed to happen. Create the vision board of all of the things that you want. Share your plan with positive people in your life. You don't have any room for the negative Neils and Nellies. Get rid of them. Don't listen to them. And refine as you go, because
absolutely,
that will help you have a really solid plan.
Absolutely. So go to xanderspragg.com to learn more, or go to Amazon and pick up his fantastic book, Epic Begins with One Step Forward. If you'd like some gifts from me, you can go to thoughtleaderlaunch.com, or you can go to Amazon and pick up my latest book, Your $1,000,000 Message. So what's coming up next week?
Next week, we are going to talk about, we've talked about the plan. Next week, we are talking about how to achieve our epic journey.
Sounds great, because we got to turn that blueprint into reality. So thank you so much for your time today. This was a really great call, and I'm Aurora Winter, and let's give the last word to you.
I'm Xander Spragg, and I'd like to leave you with this: epic choices, epic life.
That's a wrap. Bye for now.